Wonderful. Okay, so let's just dive right into it. So what is social engineering? It's a manipulation technique that exploits human error to gain private information, access, or valuables. Okay, so how do they come about? First, the researcher does their research. They identify a victim and gather necessary background information. They then choose which attack method to use, and the bad agent starts their attack by engaging the victim, deceiving them by spinning a story, and taking control of their narrative. These attackers do whatever they can to gain your trust. From there, they attempt to siphon data, important information about yourself or your business, and after they retrieve sensitive information by removing all traces of their attack, like the traces of malware on your PC, for example. So today, I wanted to go over common attacks you might encounter and preventative tips. But before we get into that, however, I wanted to identify common types of malware that you could potentially run across. A speaker from a SonicWall cyber threat presentation I had attended last year said that we are so used to attacks being someone else's problem or concern. We put our trust in our bank security, all of the various applications that we use. We trust that they have done their due diligence in protecting its users, that we often forget that we ourselves need to be just as vigilant, because all software is vulnerable. It is only a matter of when it will be attacked. So taking that into consideration, we need to be attentive, but it's better to be attentive when we know what we are watching out for. So, common types of malware. Let's first define malware. It's short for malicious software. It refers to intrusive software developed by cyber criminals to steal your data or harm your computer files and programs. First up is adware. This is unwanted or malicious advertising, like internet pop-ups. While relatively harmless, it can affect your performance, your computer, and if clicked on, it can lead the user to download a more harmful type of malware. Bots are a software program that performs automated tasks without requiring user interaction. So a computer with a bot infection can spread to other devices, creating a botnet. And this network of bot compromised machines can then be controlled and used to launch massive attacks by the hackers, often without the device's owner being aware of its role in the attack. So fileless malware. This type of malware does not directly impact files and instead uses non-file objects like a Microsoft Office macro, PowerShell, or other system tools to do harm. And this one we were probably common with, ransomware. These attacks encrypt a device's data and hold it for ransom until the hacker is paid for its release. And if the ransom isn't paid by a deadline, the hacker will threaten to delete the data. Scareware is a malicious computer program designed to frighten a user into buying and downloading unnecessary and potentially dangerous software, such as fake antivirus protection. You know, those pop-ups that say you have a virus, please click here to download and run the scan. That's fake antivirus. Spyware is very vicious. These cyber criminals use spyware to monitor the activities of users by logging the keystrokes, watch which programs that you open daily, and some even have softwares to turn on your computer. Trojans is a program pretending to be a legitimate one, but is in fact malicious. Thus, it gets its name from the giant wooden horse constructed by the Greeks in the Trojan War. It entered the city of Troy under the guise of surrender while actually meaning to do harm. A Trojan can't spread itself like a virus or a worm, but it must be executed by its victims. A virus infects other programs and can spread to other systems, in addition to its performing its own maliciousness. The virus attaches itself to a file and executed once the file is launched. Once activated, a virus can encrypt or corrupt and delete your data and files. Worms is like a virus, but a worm does not infect other programs. Instead, it replicates itself to other devices or systems and goes after those exploits. Okay. So now that we've gone on the types of malware, let's get into the tactics the cyber criminal might attack you with. These are the ones that you could be getting on a daily basis through company or for your personal life. So if you know basically what you're encountering, you can defeat it. So baiting involves an attacker leaving a malware-infected portable device, such as a USB stick, in locations where people will find them. The goal is that the target will insert the USB into their computer, and once it occurs, a malware file is triggered to run surreptitiously. A brute force attack is a type of password attack where multiple password combinations are used to gain access to a password-protected device or account. Hackers often use extensive off-the-shelf password databases of commonly used passwords and password combinations. Caller ID spoofing is a direct social engineering attack that often involves using a spoofed telephone number to create a sense of trust. The phone number will generally appear in the victim's caller ID, leading them to believe that the call emanates from a particular global region, organization, or often the individual itself. A dictionary attack is another type of password attack where the intruder attempts to crack the password with a dictionary list of common words or phrases used by businesses and individuals. Domain spoofing, the creation of a website that looks like a bona fide website, that the victim will log into the spoofed website with their credentials, and it will send those credentials to the attacker. So for example, you'll get an email sent requiring immediate attention from your bank, and a link will lead to their spoofed website instead, like ccoastbank.com becomes seascoastbank.com. We don't necessarily look really quickly, and we won't see that difference. Dumpster diving is a process whereby the attacker examines the contents of waste bins or recycle bins for the purpose of obtaining confidential information such as invoices, email printouts, or company memos, and sometimes even seemingly innocent information such as a phone list, a calendar, or an organizational chart can be used to assist an attacker using social engineering tactics to gain restricted access or information. Email hijacking occurs when a bad actor takes control of a user's email address by unauthorized means. And once they have control, they can prey on the user's contact list to propagate phishing emails and malicious download links. Phishing, a social engineering technique in which the attacker masquerades as a legitimate website or communication in order to acquire sensitive information, such as passwords or credit card information. Phishing messages can arrive in a multitude of ways, such as email, text, tweets, instant messages, QR codes, or social media status updates. Phishing is so massive a technique that there are terms for specific phishing techniques like angular phishing, clone phishing, schmishing, spear phishing, whale phishing, the list goes on. Physical theft. Often we think of computers, we forget that take into consideration that an attacker can actually physically steal our data by posing as a janitor or a serviceman and walking straight past the front desk and stealing the data by actually stealing the equipment itself. Reverse social engineering is a scenario whereby the target approaches the attacker, for instance. For example, a virus notification warning appearing on your target's computer with an accompanying number to call for assistance, whereby they are socially engineering their credit card details, network authentication credentials, what have you. Shoulder surfing is a capture of confidential data by observing the target, while passwords or PIN numbers are being inputted into computing devices such as tablets, ATM machines, or door entry systems. Shoulder surfing takes the form of direct observation or being aided by the use of hidden cameras. Tailgating is the act of following someone into a secure area, usually exploiting someone's courtesy of holding the door. Okay. So, how can we defend ourselves? These are 10 ways that you can defend yourself today. As social engineering attacks become more sophisticated, they become more difficult to prevent. So the first one is always be suspicious of emails, text messages, calls asking about your personal information, other employees, business-related information. Be suspicious of anyone you don't recognize attempting to gain access to the office by walking by the front door. Clever attackers try to take advantage of new employees by acting like they belong there. If you receive an email or a push notification on your phone asking you to identify your identity, think about it before you select yes. Sometimes we are so fast, it's mechanical to just hit accept. We must make sure that we are slowing down and thinking if we ourselves prompted that message or if someone is trying to gain access to our accounts. The second one is never provide information about your company unless you are the person who is authorized to do so. HR and company accountants have policies in place and are trained at answering sensitive questions. You don't want the liability on you if you can avoid it. A general rule in this is to answer any question containing PII, personal identifiable information, PCI, payment, credit card industry, or other monetary information, and PHI, protected health information. You might want to second guess if you can give out this information. So the third one, do not type sensitive information into a web page before checking the security of the website. Is it HTTPS website or is it just HTTP? The S will stand for secure. So if you notice up here, this little lock button, this tells me that this site is connected and secure. Now, if we click on this, we will see that the certificate is valid. Now, if it says invalid, we want to second guess if we're going to give it our information. Okay. So the fourth one, if you are unsure whether an email request is real, contact the company directly in a separate channel to verify it. If an email leaves a phone number or a contact information, try to use Google to verify that information. Call or contact the information on Google instead. That helps you figure out if the email was generated by the person or if it was actually phishing. You never want to forward along a phishing email attempt or relatively suspicious emails to anyone unless it's a trained professional like your superior or your ID department. This spreads around the security risk. Number 5, try to keep your workspace clear of any sensitive information that you are not actively using, such as passwords, legal documents, pay stubs, what have you. 6, make sure that you have any document containing important information shredded once you are done using it. These prevent dumpster divers. Number 7, try to run monthly access audits. People often leave and change roles in the company, and we want to make sure that if someone no longer needs the access to the program, that their access is removed. My suggestion is at the end of the month, if you are a person who routinely gives out access to staff members or agents, make a note to go back and look if you deleted everyone applicable, like Gmail, app files, AppFolio, to name a few. This will prevent cyber criminals from gaining outdated employee credentials. Also, try to back up your files on a weekly basis. We have multiple means to back up your data, and we should fully take advantage of them often. Our company is equipped with a Google Drive file storage, but if you were looking into a more personal level, there are free options other than Google. OneDrive, for example, Dropbox, iDrive, and if all else fails, a USB is just as good. Updates. Update your OS, your phone, your web browser. Update as often as you can. I know a lot of us like to hit ignore and say that we're going to run the update later, but try to set aside a time to run updates at least once a month or so. It is very important because we are only as safe as our equipment. And updates will help prevent previous attacks that people are aware of in the patch. Also, make sure your passwords are strong passwords and that they are changed often. A strong password consists of both uppercase, lowercase letters with a numerical vowel and symbol, and the character should be around 6 to 8 characters long. If you see this chart, you'll notice that this is how long your password will be cracked. If you have 3 numbers, it will be cracked instantly. Whereas if they are longer in character and have a mix, that they will take a lot longer, and attackers will just move on.